Room 412 had the Do Not Disturb indicator on for 22 straight days. The keycard log showed one entry, check-in night, and nothing after. The minibar kept posting charges every night at 2:33 a.m. I need to back up. I was the night auditor at a Best Western Plus off the I-10 outside Baton Rouge. Refinery corridor. The air smells like sulfur when the wind shifts and the trucks run all night between the chemical plants and the port. 118 rooms, 4 floors, burgundy carpet that was supposed to be replaced in 2021, but never was. Most of our guests were pipeline guys on corporate per diem or families who missed their exit. I'd been doing the night audit for 9 years at that property. Before that, 8 years across 2 other hotels. Started as a valet runner at a Crown Plaza in Metairie when I was 19. Took the audit shift because the differential covered my mother's prescriptions and I liked the quiet, the math of it. You run the day's charges, balance the folios, post room and tax, reconcile the credit card batch. Numbers don't surprise you until they do. Gerald Foss checked into room 412 on a Tuesday night in late September. I remember because September in Baton Rouge is the dead stretch. The LSU early season games bring a bump on weekends. But midweek, we were running maybe 28% occupancy. The parking lot was 3/4 empty. The north side pole light had been out since the last hurricane scare in August, and nobody had called the electrician because what's the point when there's nobody parking on that side anyway? He came in around 11:15, quiet guy, late 40s, maybe early 50s. Khakis, a blue polo, a rolling suitcase that looked new. Not the kind of guest who makes an impression. He had a reservation under a corporate direct bill account, Gulf Basin Industrial Services. Prepaid rate, cash deposit for incidentals. No credit card imprint on file, which was unusual, but corporate direct bill accounts sometimes work that way. I cut his key card, told him ice machine was at the end of the hall. Breakfast starts at 6. He nodded. Took the elevator. That was the last time anyone at that hotel saw Gerald Foss. I didn't think about him for 3 days. You don't think about guests who don't call down. Room 412, occupied, direct bill, DND active, fine. Some corporate guys set the do not disturb the moment they walk in and leave it on for the whole stay. They're working 16-hour shifts at the refinery and they just want the room dark. Day 4, Lorena from housekeeping flagged it. DND still active. No service requested. We're supposed to attempt contact after 72 hours per brand policy. I called room 412 at about 2 in the morning. Phone rang and rang. No answer. No voicemail pickup. The in-room phones route to the PBX system, and after 8 rings, it's supposed to bounce to voicemail. It didn't bounce, just kept ringing. I let it go for maybe 30 rings and hung up. I logged it. Attempted welfare contact 412, no answer, DND active. Figured he was sleeping, or out. Except, and this is where I should have paid more attention, the keycard log. Every room door in that hotel has an electronic lock that logs every swipe. Check-in swipe, re-entry swipe, housekeeping master swipe, maintenance override, all of it time-stamped in the lock's memory. I pulled the log for 412 the next night because I was bored and the audit was done early and something about that unanswered phone sat wrong in my chest. One entry, September 17th, 11:23 p.m. Gerald Foss's keycard. One swipe, check-in, no exits, no re-entries. 4 days, one swipe. Now I know what you're thinking. Maybe the lock wasn't recording properly. Maybe the battery was low. Except the log was clean. Every other event was there. The maid's master swipe the day before check-in, the maintenance test swipe from the quarterly lock audit in August. The lock was working. It just hadn't been opened since Gerald Foss walked in. Day 7, DND still up. Lorena flagged it again. I called again. Same thing. Rang and rang, never bounced to voicemail. Nobody picked up. I walked up to the 4th floor at about 3 in the morning, stood outside 412, knocked, waited, knocked harder, called out, "Front desk, sir, just checking in on you." Nothing. I put my hand on the door, not to open it, I don't know. I could feel the air conditioning running inside. The unit was on. The room was being cooled. But no sound, no TV, no movement, nothing. I went back downstairs and did something I don't usually do. I checked the minibar report. The hotel had installed a smart minibar system 2 years earlier. Weight sensors on the shelves that detect when an item is removed and auto-post the charge to the guest's folio. The system was finicky. False positives happened. A housekeeper moves a bottle and the system charges the guest for a $14 vodka nip. But false positives are random. Different items, different times. Room 412's minibar log was not random. Every night since check-in, at 2:33 a.m., 2 charges posted: 1 Dasani water bottle, $3. 1 bag of Planters cashews, $4.50. Same items, same time, 7 nights in a row. I pulled up the folio. There they were, 14 line items across 7 nights. Water and cashews, water and cashews, water and cashews. All billed to the Gulf Basin Industrial Services direct bill account. The running balance was $52 and change. Someone was taking 1 water and 1 bag of cashews out of the minibar at exactly the same time every night, in a room that hadn't been opened since check-in. I told myself it was the sensors. Had to be. Weight shift from the AC vibration, a slow leak in the minibar compressor, something mechanical, something explainable. I almost convinced myself. Then I checked Gerald Foss's car. It was parked in the north lot, the dark side under the dead pole light. A silver Nissan Altima, maybe 2016 model. I'd walk past it every night coming in for my shift, and it was always in the same spot. That night I walked up with my flashlight. Pollen on the hood, undisturbed, no finger marks, no wipe lines, 2 oak leaves on the windshield right against the wipers. They'd been there long enough to leave stain marks on the glass. That car hadn't been moved since check-in. I went back to the front desk, sat down, looked at the PMS screen. Room 412, occupied, DND active, direct bill, balance accruing. Everything the system told me said there was a guest in that room, spending money, consuming minibar items, keeping the do not disturb on because he didn't want to be bothered. Everything the physical evidence told me said no one had opened that door in a week. I should have called my manager right then. But it was 3-something in the morning, and the lobby was empty, and I told myself I'd mention it at shift change. Just mention it. I didn't mention it at shift change. I don't know why. I handed over the desk, drove home, slept, came back at 11, walked past the Altima, pollen still there, leaves still there, pulled up 412 on the PMS. DND active. Minibar had posted at 2:33 a.m. again. Water and cashews, 8 nights running. I called the room at 2:30 that night. Stood at the front desk with the receiver pressed against my ear and listened to it ring. 16, 17, 18 rings. I was counting. Somewhere around ring 22, I heard something that made me put the phone down and wipe my palm on my pants. The ringing pattern changed. Not like someone picked up, no click, no open line hiss, but the rings got closer together, like the gap between them was shrinking. Ring, pause, ring, pause, ring, pause, ring, pause, ring, pause, ring, pause, and then it stopped. Not voicemail, not a pickup. The line just went to silence. I hung up. My hand left a sweat print on the receiver. At 2:33, the minibar posted 1 Dasani water, 1 Planters cashews. At 2:34, the PBX log showed an outgoing call from room 412 to the front desk extension. Duration: connected. My phone had not rung. I called the room that night at 2:30, stood at the front desk with the receiver pressed against my ear and counted the rings. 16, 17, 18. Somewhere around ring 22, the ringing pattern changed. Not like someone picked up, no click, no open line hiss, but the gap between rings started shrinking. Ring, pause, ring, pause, ring, pause, ring, pause, ring, pause, and then silence. Not voicemail, not a pickup. The line just went dead. I hung up. My hand left a sweat print on the receiver. At 2:33, the minibar posted, 1 Dasani water, 1 Planters cashews. At 2:34, the PBX log showed an outgoing call from room 412 to the front desk extension. Connected. Duration, 0. My phone had not rung. Day 10. I finally told Brenda, the morning manager, showed her the keycard log, showed her the minibar report. 10 nights, same items, same time, 1 keycard swipe total, car unmoved in the lot. She stared at the screen for a while and said, could be a sensor glitch. I said, 10 nights in a row, same 2 items, same minute? She said she'd email the GM. Day 12. GM didn't respond. Brenda put a note in the daily log. Day 14. Lorena's housekeeping report had a yellow highlight next to Ford 12. She'd started highlighting it. Day 15, the GM finally came in for a site visit because the franchise inspector was due the following week and he needed to check the breakfast area signage. Brenda pulled him aside. I know because she told me at shift change. The GM said to do a welfare check. I was there that night when they opened it. The protocol is knock, announce, knock again, wait 30 seconds, announce again, then key in. Brenda came in at 10 p.m. specifically for this. She knocked. Housekeeping, Mr. Foss. Nothing. Knocked again. Front desk, sir. We're doing a wellness check. Nothing. She swiped the master key card. The lock beeped green. She pushed. The door moved about 2 inches and stopped. Deadbolt. Thrown from the inside. In 15 years of hotel work, I dealt with deadbolts maybe a dozen times. Usually it's a guest who fell asleep or a guest who doesn't want to be disturbed, or once, and this is the one they train you for, a guest who can't get to the door. Medical emergency, overdose, worse. That's why we have maintenance pull the bolt plate, 4 screws on the door frame, takes about 90 seconds with a cordless drill. Tony from maintenance did it. Brenda stood behind him. I stood behind her. The bolt plate came off. The security latch wasn't engaged, just the deadbolt. Tony pushed the door open. The room was pristine. Not clean, not tidy. Pristine. Like a display room at a furniture store. The bed was made, but not the way our housekeepers make it. Our brand standard is a tuck and fold with the top sheet turned down 6 inches and the pillows stacked 2 and 2 with the opening facing away from the door. This bed had hospital corners, tight military-grade hospital corners with the sheet pulled so flat you could bounce a quarter off it. 1 pillow centered, no decorative throw. I've seen thousands of hotel beds. No guest makes a bed like that. No housekeeper at our property makes a bed like that. It was like someone who had never seen a hotel bed but had read a manual about beds. The bathroom was dry, not recently used dry, bone dry, no water spots in the sink, no moisture on the shower walls. The towels were folded on the rack, but wrong, tri-folded like you'd fold a letter. Our standard is a fan fold. The soap was still in its wrapper. The shampoo bottles were full and lined up in size order, which is not how we stock them. The minibar was empty. Every single item had been consumed. Waters, sodas, candy bars, chips, nuts, the little wine bottles, the beer. 22 items over 15 days, and the log confirmed they were removed 1 category at a time, always at 2:33 a.m. But the trash can was empty. Fresh liner, tucked neatly, not 1 wrapper, not 1 bottle cap, not 1 crumb on the minibar shelf, no luggage, no personal items, no toothbrush, no phone charger, no loose change on the nightstand. Gerald Foss had checked in with a rolling suitcase. The suitcase was gone. Everything was gone, except the room itself, which looked like it had been staged. Brenda checked the closet, empty hangers, evenly spaced. The ironing board was folded and latched. The safe was open and empty. The factory default code was still set, which means either no one used it or someone reset it. Tony checked the bathroom ceiling vent, the window lock, the connecting door to 414. All secure. The window lock was painted shut. It hadn't been opened since the last renovation in 2019. The connecting door was bolted from both sides. Nobody was in that room. Nobody had been in that room, but the deadbolt had been thrown from inside. The DND was set from the interior panel, and someone or something had been taking water and cashews from the minibar at 2:33 every morning. I went back to the front desk and pulled the PBX call log for room 412. One outgoing call per night, every night since check-in, at 2:34 a.m. All to the front desk extension, all logged as connected, all with a duration of 0 minutes, 0 seconds, 15 calls. I had been sitting at the front desk for every single one of them. My phone never rang, not once. Brenda called the GM. The GM said to check the direct bill account. I pulled up Gulf Basin Industrial Services in the PMS. The corporate profile was there, set up with a master billing agreement, net 30 terms, authorized by a sales manager named Denise Waller. Denise Waller left the hotel in 2018. I looked up Gulf Basin Industrial Services on my phone. The company had been dissolved. Involuntary dissolution, Louisiana Secretary of State, August 2019. No forwarding address. No successor entity. The registered agent was listed at a P.O. box in Gonzales that had been closed. We were billing room 412's charges to a company that hadn't existed in 5 years. I told Brenda. She blinked at me. How is the folio accepting the charges? I didn't know. The PMS should have flagged the direct bill the moment the corporate profile expired. There should have been a credit limit, an authorization check, something. But the system was posting charges to Gulf Basin Industrial Services like it was a live account. The folio balance was now $112. Room charges, minibar, room and tax, all posting nightly, all accruing against an account that led to a dissolved company at a closed P.O. box. The GM told us to check the guest's car registration. I walked out to the Altima with a flashlight and wrote down the plate number. Brenda ran it through the system the next morning. The plates came back registered to a Gerald Foss at an address in Prairieville. The GM sent someone to the address. It was a vacant lot, empty parcel, overgrown with Johnson grass, a rusted mailbox with no numbers on it. The lot had been empty for at least 3 years, according to the neighbor. So the guest who checked into room 412 had a name that traced to an empty lot, a company that didn't exist, a car that hadn't moved in 15 days, and a room that was sealed from the inside with no one inside it. And the minibar kept charging. Brenda wanted to call the police. The GM said no, not until they understood what they were dealing with. He didn't want a squad car in the parking lot during the franchise inspection. He told us to clear the room, sanitize it, and put it back in inventory. Move on. Write it off. Bill the minibar charges to a house account and zero out the folio. I zeroed out the folio at 11:47 p.m., cleared the room status to vacant, removed the DND flag, entered the housekeeping completion code. Room 412 was clean, available, and empty. I watched the status on my screen. 412, vac, clean, ready. Then I waited. I sat at the front desk and watched the PMS screen. Room 412, vacant, clean, ready. The lobby was dead. The ice machine on the second floor hummed through the ceiling. The CNN anchor on the lobby TV murmured about a hurricane in the Gulf that wasn't going to hit us. I checked the time, 1:15 a.m., an hour and 18 minutes until 2:33. I did the audit, ran the charges, posted room and tax, balanced the credit card batch. The numbers were clean. For the first time in 15 days, the occupancy count matched the folio count exactly. No extra room, no phantom charges, just 41 occupied rooms, 41 active folios, and room 412 sitting empty on the 4th floor with fresh sheets and a zeroed-out balance. I finished the audit at 2:11, sat back in the chair, stared at the screen. 2:20, nothing. 2:25, nothing. The ice machine cycled off, and the silence was heavier than it should have been. I could hear the fluorescent light above the back office door buzzing at a frequency I'd never noticed before. 2:30. I pulled up the room status grid. All 4 floors color-coded. Green for vacant, blue for occupied, red for out of order. Room 412 was green. I stared at it. 2:33. The status box for room 412 turned blue. Occupied. I didn't touch the keyboard. I didn't breathe. The status had changed on its own. No check-in screen, no reservation pull, no keycard encoded. The PMS just flipped it, like someone on another terminal had changed the status, but I was the only person logged into the system. The back office terminal was dark. The morning manager's workstation was off. I clicked on room 412. The folio was open. New folio, new charges, rate, corporate direct bill, Gulf Basin Industrial Services, the same rate code, the same company, the same dissolved in 2019 P.O. Box closed empty lot address company. And there it was, time-stamped 2:33 a.m., minibar charge. 1 Dasani water bottle, $3. 1 bag of Planters cashews, $4.50. The DND indicator on the door panel management screen showed active, red dot. Room 412, do not disturb. The keycard log showed 0 swipes. I stood up. I don't know why. My legs decided before my brain did. I walked around the front desk, past the lobby, past the dark popcorn machine that smelled like stale butter, past the elevator. I pressed the up button. The elevator was already on the ground floor. The doors opened. I got in, pressed 4. The ride took 11 seconds. I counted. The doors opened on the 4th floor hallway. Burgundy carpet, brass sconce lights on the dimmer timer. Half of them off because it was after midnight and the system cuts power to alternating fixtures to save electricity. The hallway was empty. I could see all the way to the end. The exit sign glowing red above the stairwell door. The ice machine alcove dark and still. I walked to 412. My shoes were quiet on the carpet. I'd walked this hallway hundreds of times, but that night it felt longer than it was. The numbers on the doors, 406, 408, 410, seemed to take more steps to pass. I stopped in front of 412. The electronic DND indicator on the door lock panel was lit, red. The small LED that means the guest has pressed the privacy button on the interior panel. From inside, I stood there. The hallway was silent. No TV sounds from any room. No footsteps above or below. No AC units cycling. Just nothing. And then underneath the nothing, and I can't explain this in a way that makes sense, I could hear the room being occupied. Not a sound, not movement, not breathing. Just a presence of weight on the other side of the door. Like the air in the room was heavier than the air in the hallway. Like something was displacing space in there. I put my hand on the door. The surface was cool, normal. I leaned closer. My ear almost touched the wood. The room phone rang, inside, on the other side of the door. I heard it ring once, the same ring pattern as our Avaya handsets, that double chirp tone, and then it stopped. One ring. I pulled my hand back. I walked to the elevator. I pressed the button. The doors opened immediately. It hadn't moved. I got in, pressed L, went back to the front desk. The PBX log was already updated. Outgoing call from room 412. Extension 100. The front desk. Time, 2:34 a.m. Status connected. My phone had not rung. I sat there until 5 a.m. I didn't check anything else. I didn't go back upstairs. I didn't call Brenda. I pulled room 412's original registration card from the file drawer, the physical card, the one Gerald Foss signed at check-in. His signature was there, cramped and unremarkable. Below it, in the company field, Gulf Basin Industrial Services. Below that, in the estimated departure field, in handwriting that was not the same as the signature, smaller, neater, written with a different pen, one word, nay. Not a date, not open-ended, not blank, not applicable. I sat with that card in my hand for a long time. At 6, Marcus came in for the morning shift. I handed him the desk, told him the audit was done, the batch was reconciled, the breakfast buffet needed coffee. I didn't tell him about room 412. I didn't tell him about the folio or the minibar or the PBX log or the DND that activated in a room I'd personally zeroed out 4 hours earlier. I walked to the back office, took a breakfast voucher from the stack by the printer, the little cardstock cards we give to guests who have complaints. Complimentary breakfast, thank you for your patience. I flipped it over. On the blank side I wrote, effective immediately, I resign from my position. I will not be serving a 2-week notice. Please mail my final check to my home address. I signed it and left it on Brenda's keyboard. I walked to my car. The parking lot was gray with early light. The Altima was still there. North lot, same spot, pollen and leaves and dust. I didn't look at it. I looked up at the 4th floor. Room 412's window, the curtain was closed, pulled tight, not a gap. Every other room on that floor, every single one, had the curtains open. That's standard checkout protocol. Housekeeping opens the curtains when they turn a room. Occupied rooms might have them closed, but there were only 3 occupied rooms on the 4th floor that night, and I knew which ones they were, and 412 wasn't one of them. It was supposed to be vacant. I had zeroed it myself. But the curtain was closed. I got in my car and drove to this Waffle House. That was 8 months ago. I haven't been back. I drove past the hotel once, about 6 months after I quit. Just drove past, didn't stop. It looked normal. Cars in the lot, lobby lit up. The sign on the interstate still said Best Western Plus, still had the little star logo. I pulled over at the Valero next door and sat in my car and opened the hotel's booking site on my phone. I searched for a room, any room. 4th floor, room 410 available, room 414 available, room 416 available, room 412 unavailable, blocked, no dates listed, just unavailable. I closed the app. I still have the folio in my wallet, the one I printed that last night. Gerald Foss, room 412, Gulf Basin Industrial Services. 16 nights of water and cashews at 2:33 a.m. 15 phone calls to a front desk that never rang. I keep it folded behind my driver's license. The waitress is looking at me. She's been standing there with the coffee pot for a while. She asks which hotel, and I open my mouth to tell her, and I can't remember the address. I know it was off the I-10. I know it was near the refineries. I know the parking lot had a dead pole light on the north side. But the address, the actual street number, I can't pull it up. It's like trying to remember a dream 10 minutes after you wake up. The details are sliding. She pours the coffee. She doesn't ask again. I take the folio out of my wallet, unfold it on the counter. The charges are all there. Water and cashews, water and cashews, water and cashews. The header says Best Western Plus, and below that the address should be printed, and I look at it, and the address line is blank. Just the logo and a white space where the street and city should be. I fold it up, put it back. The coffee is bad. The parking lot is empty. It's 3 a.m. and I don't work nights anymore, but I'm here anyway. And room 412 is somewhere behind me on the interstate, and the minibar posts at 2:33, and the phone calls at 2:34, and the folio is in my wallet with a blank address line.